Hello and welcome to the P&B World Cup show. I'm Abel Sunday. On today's show, we will look at Sweden's impressive 5-1 victory over Tunisia and discuss whether they have sent a strong message to the rest of the teams in the tournament. We will also talk about Cape Verde's historic 0-0 draw against Spain. Was it a poor performance from Spain or a brilliant result for Cape Verde? And in Group G, Belgium and Egypt played out a 1-1 draw. We will all analyze the game and what result means for the both teams going forward. Joining me is the media sports marketing professional Josiah Delight Amedu, and also all the way from Lagos is joining us virtually is the principal team Wisdom Chimoba. This is the P&B World Cup show. P&B Sports Show reaching you live from the nation's capital, and as usual I've been joined with my usual guest, the media marketing sports and professional Josiah Delight Amedu. As regular, is always here in the studio with me. Good evening, Josiah. Is 6 days, day 6 already in going into the World Cup 2026.
Well, it's getting interesting. The African teams are coming up and they're playing, and they're showing that actually they didn't come for a pushover, and we are seeing most of them blazing the trail. Some have been winning, some have been drawing, and some have had accolades. I've mentioned is yesterday's game that was all over the media and all over the world. The surprise draw, Spain versus
Cape Verde. Yeah,
that is a world-class football analyzation for a lot of people who gave it to the Cape Verdeans for their boldness and their artistry. They showed that actually they came to play and they were not daunted and they were not defeated.
Well said. And of course, within the show, we'll have the principal team all the way from Lagos is going to join us virtually in the show as the show moves ahead. But let's dive into the conversation. I think the first game was Sweden against Tunisia. But you know, after that game, the news that broke out of the World Cup is Tunisia sacking their coach. Just because they lost 5-1. But don't you think that is even a bigger problem for them? Leaving this guy just one game and you sack your coach already?
I think if you look at his sack is not as a result of the 5-1 now. I think you look at it from the preliminary rounds qualifying. I think they were wobbling and they were just like managing themselves.
But they stopped their group. They finished among the first 9.
But there were some technical deficiency.
But if that is the case, Josiah, why don't they sack the coach earlier before now?
Well, like you said, a 5-1 drubbing by Tunisia. And one of the mistakes that the Tunisians will make to think that 5-1 cannot come from a Swedish team. The Swedish team is one of the best teams in Europe. They are very compact. They are not a kind of visible country when it comes to football, but football is one of their tradition. I've seen them play alongside Denmark. They are kind of hard football. They don't ever give up, and they play very fluid football. And unfortunately for Tunisia, they got the venom of the Swedish people as they came to the first leg. And I don't expect, like you said, but at the same time that the management of the Tunisian Football Federation should just come like that and then sack a coach. But there might be a reason why. Also, it might also be the coach also might not be happy for some background issues that we cannot tell that have been going on. But I venture there's a demand that we don't know. And if there is, then I don't think this is the best place for you to negotiate such demand. And secondly, it could be that some key players have been complaining of certain issues. And you know, some players have influences over coaches who select. Just for instance, people like in those days, Okocha has a very big influence in selecting players
in Super Eagles.
That's one of the greatest things that happened to a team where people get indulged and involved in selection of players when they don't lead the technical
part for the
coaches to do. Like you saw Eric Charles, he was having that problem until he insisted that he wanted the Nigerian Football Federation to give him a free hand to pick his own players. It affected Finidi George in the run to the qualifiers for the World Cup, and also Guavo. They were all part of this. So most of the things that you see affect coaches who leave is that number one, it could be salary issue, maybe they are not being paid. Number two, it could be players who are not happy with whether his style or is selective or sending people to play. Or number three, the drubbing coming at a very early time of the event.
Yeah.
It doesn't speak well for their federation. But be that as it may, the game is just one game. Just about 2-3 games ahead. I don't expect that the 5-1 should be a demoralization. But eventually they spent money, because I was giving you an analysis of the expenditures that were being spent by federations to the run of this World Cup. So maybe after putting a lot of this kind of money and then coming and being dropped in this manner in the first leg of the first round, I mean of the round,
Yes,
group,
that on group
it
stage.
didn't go well with them, and I want to believe.
But many will argue. I think the principal thing just joined us, right? Wisdom Chimoba just joined us virtually from Lagos. Wisdom, good evening, and how is Lagos this evening?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Good evening to Mr. Ahmed. Oh, Lagos is doing very well. The weather is fine. No rain, no cloud. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we are very happy to have you on the show. Yesterday, I was listening to your commentary throughout yesterday night between is it Spain versus Cape Verde yesterday last night. I was listening to your commentary, but that's by the way. Before you joined the show, me and Josiah were talking about the Federation of the Tunisia sacking their head coach after that 5-1 demolish of Sweden. What is your take on that? Do you think that's the right time for them to sack their coach, or they just want to follow what happened to Ivory Coast, if you remember, during the 2023 African Cup of Nations, sacking their coach and they went away to win the AFCON? Do you think that history might repeat itself in this case?
No, there's no history repeating itself anywhere. There's no history to begin with, because confidence of it repeating itself. All right. So for Tunisia, I have to go to and I have to understand the rationale behind their decision. And I discovered that the man who was just sacked was appointed in January, and it took time in January. And if I'm not mistaken, out of 5 games, or is it 5 or 4 games, he won just one. And lost the remaining. He couldn't even, maximize the quality of his team. You understand? So in fact, he took about 5 attackers, 4 midfielders. It's kind of strange. Since January, when I took charge in Tunisia has not really shown promises. So I think for the Tunisia Football Federation, they looked at it and said, you know what? I think this is still very early. It's just 1 game. We have 2 more games to salvage out. So, and the good part about it, if they had sacked this guy and they have appointed a random person, I would have said these guys are not serious. They just appointed Renard. And then we know the massive
quality.
We know how much career of Renard there is. Him leading this side. We know we saw what he did in the last World Cup with Saudi Arabia, right? And how they got a famous win over Argentina in the opening, game of the World Cup for Argentina. All right. So when you look at it, I would say they made the right choice. They made the right choice, because you look at that Tunisia side. I will hand to you. They've got quality. They've got some fine players there. Of course, the former Man United man has to be one of their most notable players at the University of Hannibal Mainstream. But of course, you look at the exact team as well. They got some fine quality players that should be enough to at least get them past the group phase. But that 5-1 thrashing, because prior to that game, myself and some of my colleagues here, in the studio, we were looking at it and we were analyzing. We said, this game should be a fairly even game. It should be a balanced game, because Sweden, of course, are not a powerhouse. Even though Graham Potter has done his best to improve the side, but of course they're not a powerhouse, and Tunisia themselves, they are no pushovers. So I was surprised to see that it was thrashed 5 goals to 1. And I think for the Tunisian Federation, it was more like a case of, okay, we saw the signs, but we did not act. Since January, when this guy was appointed, all of the friendly matches that this guy took charge of, we did not see any form of promise. And they said, we can't take this chance anymore. this is just match day one. There's 2 more games for us left to play. We have a shot at qualifying, especially when you look at their group. I mean, you look at this group and say, no, 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 no. We have a shot at qualifying from this group, and it's best to make a move. And I'm glad that they did not just sack this guy, to appoint a random coach, because that's the thing about sacking managers at times. When you sack a manager, if you don't get a quality replacement, then the sacking is in vain. You're just going to continue the same problem. When he really stepped up, going to get happy Rout, that is a smart move from the Tunisian Football Federation, and I'm confident it will pay off. I'm confident it will pay off.
Well, bringing this coach also from his pedigree, we're told that he led in 2022, led Saudi Arabia to the defeat to win over Argentina, showcasing his ability to perform at the biggest stage. And that tells me that this could be brought to replace Sabrine, what's the name? Sabrine Lamochi.
Yes.
It's very, very vital. And like he said, and which I reiterated to you, I said it could have been the preparatory stage that he had not actually performed very well. And having looked at his performance index and seen how he's going, I think they just felt, oh, this will be the best, like he said, will be the best time for them to not let him go. Otherwise, there will be more disaster or more casualties. His style of play, eventually,
a lot of people will say, is it that the Tunisian Federation have already given up? Like, okay, anything I want to happen, let it happen. Let's just but let's go into the conversation. Has Sweden announced themselves as the new title contenders with this performance, Josiah?
The Swedish team has never one time or the other appeared at the world stage and then leave at the nearly a group stage. They've always cruised into maybe a second round or a quarter final. That's what I know of the Swedish teams. Well, mentioned, I think of there's one player that comes to my mind. I can't remember his name now. But all of these times that I've seen Sweden go to play at the World Cup level, they have been so superb.
This is their 13th time.
This is their 13th time, and they have been improving on every appearances, and they are not a mismatch at all. So beating Tunisia is not a surprise. Everybody can be beaten, but they themselves have appeared more on world stage than even the Tunisians. So it tells you also the kind of quality of players they have, and also tells you the kind of quality of coaches that they have in executing and prosecuting this World Cup for this 2026. Look, things are just happening. I think we're going to be disappointed ourselves in the studios when we make predictions. The game will just shock us.
A lot of surprises.
A lot
of surprises, actually. Okay, the principal thing. What was the biggest difference between the two sides for you? I'm talking about the Swedish side and also the Tunisian side. Because if you look at their World Cup history, I think Tunisia have been to the World Cup 7 times, has qualified to the World Cup 7 times. Sweden has qualified for 13 times. And Sweden came, they missed Qatar 2020. The last time they came was 2018 in Russia 2018. But what is the difference between these two sides, from your own opinion?
Well, difference in these two sides to go. Let's talk about the manager, Graham Potter. Let's start from there. Of course, Graham Potter is a fine coach. His thing they had at Chelsea really almost ruined his career, because from Chelsea, of course, we saw him go to West Ham, and he didn't work out. It's like London is not a place for him. So maybe next time he should avoid London in whatever he's doing. And he didn't have a good time there. But we saw what he did at Brighton, and now he's taking charge of this Sweden national team. And during the qualifiers, the friendly games, I saw the Sweden were playing, and I was saying to myself, oh wow, and this is starting to make sense to me, the Swedish side of playing. And I looked at that lineup against Tunisia, and I was shocked. Previous managers did not start with Gyökeres and Alexander Isak. In fact, one comes off the bench. This guy went for these two prolific goal scorers at once, putting Victor Gyökeres and Alexander Isak in that same lineup. Yashin Ayari was also there behind them, because Belgium in that team. I looked at it and I said to myself, okay, looks like Graham Potter means business. But if you want to look at it, first of all, quality for quality, of course, we know the Swedish national team have better players compared to Tunisia. That is number one. Number two, you already spoke about the history. The Swedish side, of course, they've been in the World Cup for 2 years that they have more experience. But here's the thing, I met that somebody said that, this Swedish side, at least they will get out of the group stage, maybe they will make it to the second round, or maybe they qualify more. I think I agree with him. You asked the question earlier, if that performance automatically means that they are title contenders. There is no way they are title contenders in any way, in any form. Well, if I want to say this to the first game of the match they won in the World Cup has given us some shockers. Nobody expected Spain to play a golden stroke with Cape Verde. Nobody expected, some certain kind of results. I'm not going to dispute that fact, but I mean, at the early stages of every tournament, even in the season, everybody will perform, right? Everybody has a point to prove. But as time goes on, quality will begin to come to fore. You understand? So for Sweden, I just feel like they are a good side. I'm not going to see that fact. And they find team Graham Potter. He really knows these players and he's playing them in their best position, trying to get the best out of them. That is something that works to their advantage. But maybe the best they can achieve is the quarterfinals because of course and they're going to come up against the big boys. In fact, interestingly for me, I feel like the Norway side, the Norway team, is much better compared to Sweden. Of course, they are both Scandinavians.
Yeah.
Both Scandinavians, in fact. Very, very, very strong in a lot of ways. But I feel like the Norway national team even has better quality compared to Sweden. But it will be too early for me to rank them up. At the same time, I'm just going to give them the quarterfinal finish. I don't even see them making it to the semifinal. Not the quarterfinal.
Round of 16.
I'll say I'm impressed. But of course, I trust Graham Potter. But at the same time, I don't think Sweden is a team that is in the conversation for winning the World Cup. But you never can tell. I mean, the World Cup, the script of the World Cup, the goals of football, I don't know what they have in mind for this year's edition. But whatever it is, I don't think Sweden, is going to lift it.
Okay, well said. Just let's can Sweden maintain this level against stronger opposition? Do you think they can?
They will. From the analysis that even President has even given you, I think it's best left for us to see whether that will really play out itself again. But nevertheless, I see quality in the team, in the style of play, and in the confidence that he said Graham Potter has brought to the team. And I believe, for me also, it's too early to call to want to even judge anything that even go further. But you can predict by visually seeing the style and then the mood of the players in the first stanza of any competition. It tells you who can go further. The Swedish team has a very good opportunity, considering I think they're in the group that they are.
Yeah.
I don't think the group is a bit scary one for them not to want to get past the first group into the second group stage of the competition. So we just want to see how they play their matches and qualify for whatever group they are.
Then with Netherlands, Japan, and they call Sweden, Tunisia, Netherlands, Japan.
So you know that Netherlands is not an easy knot, and Japan is not an easy knot. What the whipping team there might just be Tunisia. From this 5-1 defeat, it will demoralize them our finals. After that, I can't tell you anything.
Anything can happen. Okay. Where's the final as we lay this game to rest? How will Tunisia respond in their next match to stay alive? And of course, I think they are playing Japan on Sunday. So, do you think they can put a big fight against Japan with what they did yesterday?
Against Japan, I think it's going to be difficult. I won't lie. We know this Japanese guys; they're a very disciplined team. I mean, I don't need to tell you what they did to the Netherlands. We saw the kind of performance. It was a spirited performance. I remember commentary duty for that game, and I was very, very surprised that the Japanese were within crosses into the box at a certain stage. I was on commentary duty for that game, and I was saying to myself, why are the Japanese within crosses into the box? Despite being smaller than the Netherlands. And while I was whining and complaining about that. The next game they scored from a header, and I said, okay, now you guys want to shut me up. No wahala, you won. Okay. It shows that this Japanese side, they are a side that can adapt, tactically. They are a side that have the resilience, they have the discipline. I was saying something some days ago when I was on the show about Asians being very disciplined. Both the Japanese and Koreans, the Asian side can be very disciplined. And so when you look at it, the fighting spirit, and the truth is, for Japan, I would even say that, these guys, Netherlands, Sweden, and Tunisia are lucky. I would say they are lucky. You know why I'm saying they are lucky? Because Wataru Endo is absent, the Japanese captain. The Liverpool man is absent. Kairo Mitoma is also absent. And their last game, we saw Kubo pick up an injury.
So they have 3 important players out of the team.
Yeah, 3 key players, for this Japanese side. And even without, Wataru Endo and Mitoma, look at the trouble they are causing for the Netherlands. Now imagine if all of their players are available. I mean, some people winning goal against England in that friendly match, that friendly game in March. I mean, if Mitoma is available, we know the trickery of that young man. So when you look at this Japanese side, they've got exciting players. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, Avi Renard, don't forget I said I trust Avi Renard because he has proven that he can do it on the world stage, on the big stage. But I think it is too soon for him to quickly adapt his side, into his style of play and everything. But regardless, I'm not going to throw anything away. I'm not going to say Japan would win that game outright. But at the same time, I'm not going to say that Tunisia are going to come there and cause so much trouble. You never can tell. But I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, that game would be a very tight one. But just maybe the Japanese will edge it. Just by a little.
Okay, maybe the Japanese might take that one on Sunday, and that will take them to 4 points in the group. That is, if that happened. But let's flip over to the next game, which is between Spain and Cape Verde, which is, I think, the talk of the town. Yesterday, the media was exploding because of nobody gave Cape Verde a chance. Because even before then, there were so many posts in the media that Cape Verde will collect. You understand? They will take, like they say, nothing short of 7. You understand? So they will collect. But is this 2 points dropped by Spain or 1 point gained by Cape Verde, Josiah?
The 1 point gain is not to any advantage of the Cape Verdeans, but the 1 point gain, to my mind, is not too good for the Spanish team, because we expect them to be having 3 points right now, so they can be comfortable. And I just saw the game actually didn't go well. I don't know how the Spanish national team started this match yesterday, because it got to a point where they say when you throw a hook into a river and it catches a fish, there's a problem. It's trying to struggle. That's what was happening to the Spanish team yesterday. They were struggling they were struggling to get their feet on the pitch. And unfortunately, no one saw it interesting. When I was doing my research, I found out that it was even the goalkeeper of the Cape Verdeans that even saved them.
Yeah.
I haven't saved over 22 shots face to face.
7 world-class saves.
7 world-class saved, and then that's not the mincemeat. That would have been about 7 goals to about 0. And for such a guy who actually left the team preparation for the World Cup at the time, it says about 40 years or so.
40 years.
And then he was saying that he doesn't want to go. It was his teammates that even encouraged him to tell him, no, come, we've come this far. Let's go and see and try. And look at what the trial has convinced everybody, that it doesn't matter how old you are. It matters how determined you are to go for a championship. The Cape Verdeans have nothing to lose. They've only come to prove that if you can be determined and have the right attitude and discipline, you can take on anything. Like I said it's not sometimes, it's not names, but sometimes names are coming to play now. For what Principal is analyzing in terms of quality players, the time for the players to show themselves is coming on. It's at the second stanza. Okay. Then they begin to show who's got the talent, and who got the game. Now I begin to identify who is doing well from every club, and why your exploit abroad in any club has a very importance to your development and success of your national team. So I give it to the Verdians yesterday. They were absolutely brilliant. They were, in short, to the last minute, they were piling pressure. And unfortunately, Lamar was I didn't see
well, I think Lamar's case probably they can make case for him. He's just coming back from injury.
No matter what injury is, but they have a tiki-taka pattern. They didn't slow them. They were playing at even the Cape Verdean pace.
Yeah.
I never see the Spanish will run and gone. I know them to be very careful. They play their pass. They play like as if they are playing a basketball. This thing, you drill the ball here, you drill the ball there, and then you know that where someone is going to get a shot or going to get something nice for scoring.
I think one thing is sure yesterday, the Cape Verdean, they came with a plan and at least it worked for them. But the principal thing, did Spain underestimated the Cape Verde? Are you there?
Well,
yeah.
That would be true in a way. What true in a way you should say that Spain underrated the Verde. Because when you look at the lineup, first of all, I looked at that lineup. You said it when I tried to show that I was on commentary, but I looked at the lineup and I was smiling to myself. I said, why put Gavi up there? Why you want the last one they were only 40 information. And when we started with Gavi, Mikel Oyarzabal and Ferran Torres up front, and I was smiling and I said, oh, come on, why this line? Why this lineup? It shows that, okay, you look at it and said, okay, I don't think this guy should be too much of a problem. Maybe first half, if it doesn't work out, I'm just going to make some good. And I looked at the bench. There was the Glacier on the bench, the Hesafil man, of course. But I mean, Yamal and these guys are just returning from injury. So I was not expecting them to start. Those ones are excused. But when you look at that team, of course, they've got some fine players, the side. And I was thinking to myself, why that lineup? I felt like they really underrated the Cape Verde. But I'm not going to just leave that on Spain and say it was because they underrated Cape Verde. Because it looks like Cape Verde, in fact, overestimated Spain. In fact, they overestimated Spain because they came fully prepared. Now, I don't know if Cape Verde would settle. Their manager, Brito, set them up to play 4-1-4-1. And I was watching them out of possession. These guys switched to a 4-5-1, straight line. Everyone back defending. In fact, in the second half, they had to switch to a back five. Play 5-4-1, but then they play 5-3-2. The plan was simple and so called the pressure. And they did that to the core. I mean, their left back, the Benfica man, talking about Lupin Cabral and the one that won number 13, he was all over the place. I mean, exactly moving from left to right. He was all over the place, In fact, even their captain, Ryan Mendes, was leading a goal scorer for the national team, 22 goals. How old is he? I think 36 or 34, if I'm not mistaken. I'm talking about their captain, Ryan Mendes. Everybody was willing to leave everything on the field. And that was what really helped them. And they really kept that compact shape, the low block. It made it difficult for Spain to find pockets of spaces. Now, where did Spain get it wrong? Spain got it wrong by failing to improvise. Spain wanted to keep doing tiki-taka and pass their way to the net. We saw that these guys are playing with a low block. We saw that these guys have covered every possible pocket of space. All you had to do was let the shot fly from the edge of the box.
Okay.
And then we saw Uruguay against Saudi Arabia. These guys played at 23 shots in the second half. Shots was finally better. And guess what? They couldn't score so many goals. Now one goal that is scored. Because from a rebound, the goalkeeper made a save, the ball spilled out, there was a tapping, there was a rebound.
Okay.
From outside. Who knows if they will do? But they wanted to work their way into the net. I was thinking to myself, this will not work. In fact, there was a time Spain started sending the crosses into the box, and I was saying, is it sneaky? But that's about like small. They want to get the next way. And of course, for that about, I would like to Spain really this thing. Spain really this thing. Because just like came out spending just about 20 minutes on the field. This guy came in and on 5 dribbles. That 5 dribbles was there. Of every person that was on that field for 90 minutes. For 90 minutes. But of course, it wasn't direct. Because it couldn't, there was no space for him to be direct. As soon as I about got the ball, they were about 3 or 4 surrounding us. Was put the ball into the box. He had to just cross. But there was no space for him. And it showed you that he came ready and he had everything under control. So for me, I felt like De La Fuente did not come with a plan B in that game. Maybe it should be underestimated. Because it feels like, okay, at the end of the day, he has the one defense, will see like 1 or 2 will score. But I think it did not really come with a plan B because I just had the substitution. And at the stage, I was thinking I was going to take off with Arsenal and bring in maybe Mikel Moreno. But instead, he took off Rodri. And I was thinking to myself, okay, the substitutions, what are the intentions of De La Fuente? But when you look at it, I'm saying to myself, okay, maybe this one was just meant to be. Maybe Spain was the one that was supposed to give us the script. But at the same time, should I shock you? If I say that I am surprised, but I'm also not surprised, I'm going to be shocked. Why am I saying this? Now remember that leading up to this World Cup, the friendly matches that they played, they were not impressive. Normally we would say, oh, they are friendly matches. Friendly matches don't mean anything. Anything friendly matches, but when the real tournament starts, that's when you see the real deal. But I looked at this Spain side during their World Cup preparatory matches, and I said to myself, these guys are struggling. Something is missing. These guys played goal A game. These guys played a 1-1 draw with Iraq in their friendly match. The 1-1 draw with Iraq, and I said to myself, that game, how people complain. People vex for saying they say, you don't cut my ticket, you don't cut my ticket. I mean, in fact, even yesterday, I think there was someone that put, and for not mistaken, I think $1 million on that game for Spain to win. The odds was just about 1 to 2 or so. And the person said Spain have to win. The person put $1 million. Money don't go like that. So for Spain, I look at it against Iraq, they struggled. Yes, it's a friendly match. Even against Peru. Of course, Peru is not that much of a footballing nation. They managed to win that one too. But at the start of that game against Verde, I saw the way the Spanish side was playing, and I said to myself, De La Fuente did not come with a plan B. He did not come with a plan B. But regardless of that, I'm not going to take away anything from the Cape Verdeans. They came with a plan. Their plan worked the truth. So for De La Fuente, of course, their next game, I'm sure he's going to try to pour out the revenge, on their next opponent.
Okay, what's the principal thing? But Josiah, should Spain be worried about their lack of goals? Not scoring against a team like Verde.
They should be worried. You don't win a championship without scoring. So if you don't score, then why are you in the championship? The essence of you going to the championship is to build up a team that will score. So if your team is not scoring, there is a big problem. You cannot go to the championship and have a 0 score for every of your group games. You have 0-0-0. You're out. While others who are scoring or drawing are getting their points counted, and then they're having advantage to top the table, or to be at the very advantage of going to the next stage. So if you don't score, it's a big problem for you. So right now, with this 0-0 score, it's not comfortable for me for Spain. He just said something. The Spaniards are not playing like the Spanish team that we used to know.
But they have superstars. The Paris superstars there, the likes of Daniel Olmo, you can name them.
One of the things I noticed yesterday was the control of the midfield. They were lacking. The Cape were mopping up wrong passes. Passes were not accurate, and they were mopping it up, and they were taking it for counter-attack. Unlike the Spaniards, who go to the ball skillfully, distribute it well, until they get to the second half, they now begin to find how to do damage, either through the flanks, or they just put a quick pass for you, and then you score. They were struggling to do that. Even to get a shot at goal, they didn't have it as much as the Cape Verdeans did. And so it was a very difficult one for them. So when you don't have your opportunities to get a goal or to score, then you will begin to be frustrated, and that's not good for you. You need to score. You need to make. You need to score goals, and also your goals also matters. Look at someone who put a 1 million mark. But attention, they have scored 1 goal. You'll have maybe suit his mind. Now they left the $1 million, and they left without 1 goal to their advantage, and they went with a 0 mark. An investment of 1 million to 0 goal. My brother, that's very dangerous.
Okay, the principal thing, yeah, I think we will not shy away from talking about the goalkeeper of Cape Verde. I think he's the man of the match. He did so well. 7 world-class save. That's exceptional for a 40 years old. I think we cannot stop talking about it, but can Cape Verde build on this result and qualify from the group stage? Do you think it is possible for them to do that?
Well, I mean, I have to say, well, this guy, before the game, he had just 46,000 followers. But now we're talking about over 6 million followers right now.
Wow.
Last night and now, from 6,000 followers to over 6 million followers. That's crazy. That's what the work was for you, right? And it was absolutely fantastic. But we were praising him. And the Saudi Arabian goalkeeper, how does that plan? The Saudi Arabian goalkeeper made 9 saves against Uruguay. And I'm saying to myself, okay, goalkeepers now, you guys want to come and take over this one, right?
They did.
You guys want to be the staff who are like, it's allowed. It's allowed. But yeah, for Budina, I have to say, I was really impressed with his performance. He never looked shaky at all throughout the game. He never looked shaky. He did not take any chances. And whenever, there was a ball coming towards the goal line, you can see he was active throughout the game for 90 minutes. In fact, because we see, I was worried for Unai Simon. And I was saying to myself, when a goalkeeper is idle in a game, there's a high chance that he will lose focus, and then he still will concede. Because Unai Simon basically did nothing throughout the entire game. And Spain were very lucky that the press are not his side, that are very good when it comes to the hitting of the
we had the counter-attacks.
Counter-attack. He had some fine opportunities to counter-attack yesterday, but of course, they couldn't make the most of it because of poor decision-making and some other things. It was against this side that their transition is very smooth, and maybe they would have scored at least a goal against Spain. But for Budina, he's really, really good at a good performance. Of course, he's actually the vice captain behind their number 3 team. I'm talking about. He's a very key player for Budina. And when you look at it, I mean, he was actually superb. I really want him to continue performing like this. Of course, he's too old for him to be counted by any club. Because in fact, on my show here in Lagos, one Chelsea fan called and said, Chelsea should upload
yes.
But no doubt it's going to be very crucial. And this draw, for a nation of half a million people, it means a lot to them. Picking up your first point.
They woke up.
First ever appearance, and not just against any team.
It's
Against Spain.
It's the champion in Spain. I mean, that's massive. And all thanks to them and Brazilian, because it's not for those things. I mean, we'll be talking about a 4-0 or a 5-0 fashion. So the goalkeeper is a man of the match for him.
Okay, what's said, it's time for us to go on a short break. I want to come back. We're taking the last game against which will have Egypt versus Belgium that ended I think 1-1 draw. Don't go anywhere. PRB World Cup show. We'll be right back.
Countdown is over.
Live from the nation's capital, and I'm very much with Josiah Delight Amedu and also the principal team joining us virtually from Lagos. Now let's talk about Egypt Belgium yesterday. We saw, I think so far it's only South Africa that have come short of all the African teams that have gone.
played
Probably it's because of how they are driving Africans from but they were not going to
the nemesis is still there, but at the same time,
okay, you call that is not a nemesis.
the nemesis. Well, like we've been talking about South Africa, one great delight that I have is the performance of the remaining African teams. Only yesterday, 3 African teams played.
Yes.
And they actually didn't disappoint Africans. Actually, they put up a good fight. Apart from the match, like you said, of South Africa, and the one that I think there's one other match that an African team lost. But be that you not.
It's only South Africa that have lost so far.
Cote d'Ivoire.
Cote d'Ivoire won 1-0. Ecuador have won.
Okay.
Then
the rest have been drawing, but it's not that it's over yet. We are getting to where the boys will begin to show how they can perform. The game, like we said, against Belgium, Mo Salah was an inspiration to the Egyptian side. Anytime from his Liverpool time before he has now left, also changed that team. The Egyptians are not an easy crack from the North African football nation that they come from. Just like the Moroccans, they have a very, very, very compact. And I don't know, I'm so surprised that most of them don't understand English, but they understand football language.
But football is not English. Football is not English.
Everyone wants to believe that because football actually originated from England. It is an English thing. Because why I'm saying this is that communication is very, very important in football. If you cannot communicate properly, then how do you play?
They can communicate with themselves now. They understand themselves.
I've seen some coaches who coach some teams. The coaches don't even know the language.
Somebody is always there to interpret.
But that's what I'm telling you. Is there no language barrier to see some of them playing the way they play? I'm using why some people can also not underperform when there's a bad language barrier between players and their coaches. So as I say, even these days now, I'm not deviating from the question. So I'm just trying to make you understand why the African teams are doing well. Ordinary people say that we don't hear English. So how can we perform at the world stage? But what we are seeing here now, we are seeing an African team that also getting their own local homegrown coaches, and they are forming a good formidable team, and they're understanding them, and they're playing good football, and they're making impact. So the Egypt match against Belgium, and Belgium is a world class country because most of the damn Nigerian good players like the Stephen Keshi, the likes of Okocha, most of them had their
play at some point
in Germany. I mean in Belgium, even Henry Iwekoro grew up playing football. So the German football the Belgian football is not just any kind of football. It's as good as the competition in the European atmosphere. So 1-1 draw between Belgium and Egypt. I'm not surprised that they turned out this way.
All right, the principal thing. Let me ask you, which team will be happier with a draw yesterday? Is it the Egyptians or the Belgian side?
Well, I don't think any of the two teams will be happy with the draw because they had opportunities to win the game. I don't think any of them will be happy with the draw. First of all, we saw that fantastic goal from Ashore. The first half, very, very brilliant strike. There was nothing to go about that one. It shows, the quality of the strike. You look at that Egyptian side, of course, we know they have some fine players there. Of course, Salah, the Egyptian king, Omar Mamouche, the prince. Of course, Salah is the king, Mamouche is the prince. But then Ashore making a name for himself. First ever international goal, and was a banger against one of the world's best goalkeepers.
Wow.
But when you look at the first half was fairly balanced because, of course, the game started with Belgium hitting the game up on the front foot. Egypt gradually grew into the game until they scored. And then the second half, at the start of the second half, Egypt was all over the place. And I remember in that game, of course, we were covering the game live here in Lagos. And I was saying to myself, Romelu Lukaku, I was waxing lyrical about it. Bring on Romelu Lukaku. Bring on Romelu Lukaku. The Egyptians are having a good time because there's no pressure. Charles the Artillery, he was absent for me in that game for Belgium. Yuri Tilleman was also struggling to make something happen. Even Kevin De Bruyne, the position he was asked to play, which was a more forward position. And even though he put up some fine performances, I think he really struggled because he's at his best when he plays from deep. His vision is clearer, his vision is wider. You can see him make those line breaking passes. But you saw that as soon as Romelu Lukaku made his way onto the field, in less than 30 seconds, he had an impact. Bang! Belgium got equalizer. And that was when the game changed. We saw Belgium dominate all of that period. And that was where, Rudy Garcia made a mistake. In the 84-85 minutes, he took off Leandro Trossard. No, not Leandro Trossard. He took off Kevin De Bruyne and Redu. And that was when Egypt, for the final stage of the game, had all the opportunity to put the ball in the back of the net. He kept on piling the pressure. At the end of the day, when you look at the game in general, both sides had good attacking moments. They had opportunities where they would have scored, and the game, at least the dimension of the game would have changed. But both sides, they wasted chances. I'm not going to lie. Belgium wasted chances. Egypt wasted chances. Another thing, they made some very poor decisions at times. So I'm sure both managers are looking at the game and they are fighting their fingers. They are saying, if only they had known because that thing was the game that would have been decided on fine margin. So I'm sure both managers will look at it and say, okay, we got a point, but we're not satisfied with it because we should have. We had opportunities to win the game. The same thing that Rudy Garcia would say to his boys, the same thing, the Egyptian coach. But I think for Egypt, where they lost, a bit of momentum or control in that game was when Mo Salah was, as soon as Salah went off, I just noticed that the Egyptians were starting to struggle to create that because we saw Salah, he was all over the place. He's aging like fine wine. He's not ready to go down. I mean, in the first half, he was running rugged with the ball. As soon as he gets the ball, you see him trying to drive around, trying to make something happen. But when he went off, and Belgium had opportunity to build, would have possession, dominate, attack. Egypt would receive the ball, attack. So it was a very good game. Both sides had opportunities. So I don't think both managers will be satisfied with 1 point. They look at it and say, we have opportunity to pick up 3 points, so we still pick up 3 points.
Okay, that's fantastic, the principal thing. But how much yesterday was, I think Mo Salah was 34 yesterday. How much credit does Egypt deserve for their performance? Delight.
Why do you give credit to a team that is going for a World Cup championship? If you ask me for credit, I'll tell you the credit is to win, and the credit is to be at above your best. Well, I will give them credit because they are playing against a very robust and a very tactical team. From the analysis you also hear, and from the very from my own research, the Belgian team is not a pushover. They have been at the World Cup and they know their onions. The likes of Lukaku, you saw what even he did at the UEFA Championship at the Champions League.
Yes.
How they roused my team Arsenal. It was Lukaku who was in the. And now look at him again in this World Cup. Immediately he was introduced, the game changed, and the fever began to catch the Egyptians. And then at the end of it all, it was a 1-1 draw. It's a credit to both teams. I would say to one side, they all did well, they all played well. They had the opportunities to win, but at the same time, because of the massive pressure, because of the massive tactical play that was being enforced and being exhibited, the best was a draw for both sides. I would not say that anybody should regret that draw because the game would have gone either way. So a draw is good for them to go and sleep and then go and prepare for the next game.
Well, all right. I think we've run out of time already. Talking sports, before you know, I think you cannot keep track of time. But as your final word, Josiah, before I get to the principal team in Lagos, France, your prediction: France against Senegal tonight.
France, Senegal. Man, these countries what will I call? They share players. Most of the French, most of the players that play in the French league
are
Senegalese. And so they all understand their systems, and they all understand the kind of play.
But what do you think is going to happen?
France is a for me. France is ahead of Senegal in terms of the pedigree and the permutation of who will win the World Cup. So for me, I'm being careful not to give not to bring a prediction here. But best for because of their friendship, let's say France will go with the 2-1 win
to France.
To France.
The principal thing. What's your prediction? I know you are going to comment. You are going to comment on that game live. I'm going to wake up by 8 o'clock. But what's your prediction on that game tonight?
Oh, I mean, that's a good game. That's a big game. I know I don't have time to do so much analysis because quality is everywhere for France, quality everywhere for Senegal. It's going to be a tight one. Based on what match they won has shown us to the World Cup, I believe it is best going away from prediction. I'm gonna say a 2-2 draw. It's a difficult one because my crystal ball is currently tough.
No crystal ball is working out. No crystal ball is working out. Most of the crystal ball are cracked.
So the principal thing you are saying 2-2 draw. That's what you are saying.
I don't want to change my prediction, but my mind
is it because
my mind. He said she said 2-2. But let us stay by brain. Let's think about 2-1.
But the principal is it because France lost to Ivory Coast during the friendlies before the? Is that why you are saying this or what?
I mean, there's no pushover. For me, there's no pushover.
For me, I was looking at the Senegal side. I'm looking at that defense. Koulibaly, looking at the midfield. I'm seeing a smile of that, Papi Matusa. I'm looking at that forward line, Sadio Mane, Jackson. They have some fun players. Yes, one player by player individually, they might not match up to France. But one thing we know is they are resilient. Because I don't want to talk about their level of physicality. We know that they have that one. It's going to be, of course, I'm not expecting Senegal to come out and attack. I mean, that would not be a smart thing to do. So we see Mbappe tell their names, they do that. But at the same time, I'm not going to expect Senegal for 90 minutes. You understand?
Yeah.
So, looking at it, and I'm thinking to myself, France defensively, I wouldn't lie, I've not been impressed with them.
They are shaky.
Yeah. That is something Senegal might need to explore. So I mean, that's why I said I need to run away from predictions at this stage. Because when you predict, at the end of the day, if it doesn't come through, and it sounds like today, I don't know, but then, yeah, I just want to stay safe and go for a 2-2 draw.
All right. We'll take it.
I'm sure Africa wants Senegal
to
win. Definitely. And that's all we have for you on today's edition of the PRB World Cup show. A big thank you to our guests, Josiah Delight, Amedu, and Wisdom Chimoba for their insight and analysis. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for doing this with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, the World Cup continues to deliver surprises, drama, and unforgettable moments, and we will be here to break it all down for you every step of the way. I'm Abel Sunday. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, enjoy the football, and we will see you on the next edition of the PRB World Cup show.